call the January 2025 Park Board meeting to order. We have no guests. You want to do the roll call for?
Pam Broca. Here. Karen Nessett. Here. Anthony Leburko.
Here.
Mike Kennedy.
Here.
At Casanova.
Not guilty. Here.
And
There was a copy of the minutes in your packet.
Yep.
Did anybody see anything that was incorrect or need to be changed, corrected, or something was omitted?
No.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved. New business.
All right, I'll take it from here, Pat. Save your voice.
Thank you.
So first item under new business is just to approve the 2025 Park Board meeting schedule. Deb went ahead and made a schedule up for the remainder of 2025, making sure there's no conflicts with either, Planning Commission, City Council meetings, Public Works Committee meetings, and this is the schedule that was put together. It follows pretty much the same outline that we've followed the last several years, where it's the first Tuesday of the month. Obviously, there's some times where some conflicts arise and have to push it back a week, but for the most part, that's kind of the standard schedule. And then obviously, if things come up with various, things with the committee that we need to change, obviously we're flexible, but this gives us a semi-permanent roadmap for the rest of the season. So staff's just recommending approval.
Move to approve.
second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right.
Item is Lakefront Park.
Yeah, Lakefront Park, safety concern at Lakefront Park. So Public Safety actually discussed this last week at their meeting, and based on their recommendation, they forwarded on to both Park Board and the Traffic Safety Committee that we have here as staff. But anyways, so that's why it's on the agenda tonight, and the history is there used to be a bench right at the end of Locust Street, right at the top of Lakefront Park. I don't know if many of you recall. Unfortunately, there was an accident there a couple of years ago where someone was hit and subsequently very, very injured. And that individual has contacted the city to just have us look deeper into overall safety of that intersection, what the city could maybe possibly do to not have something like this occur in the future, specifically because there are a lot of large events that happen down there, and that is kind of a main entrance, so on and so forth. So anyways, I wanted to put it on Park Board agenda just to have some general discussion as far as, A, do you see it as a safety concern for the city? And then B, I can talk about some options that we've discussed internally. I don't want to take away from the overall feel of the park and make it look like Fort Knox. If we were to do something to create a barrier, we want to do it, that's going to fit in with the overall landscape of Lakefront Park. And then the individual that did contact us did do a bunch of legwork already. There are opportunities for grant funding, whether it's through like Department of Homeland Security that help pay for something if it gets absurdly expensive. There are also resources across the river and like with the St. Croix County Emergency Management where, there's some risk assessment. People will come out, look at the site, maybe give us some thoughts on, maybe you should consider this or this or this. And those are typically low cost or free. So a lot to kind of chew on there. But I guess I just like to open it up and kind of get your initial thoughts on, A, safety concern, B, kind of what you'd like to see happen down there and kind of direct staff and direction.
Has something like this happened before? Has there been this kind of problem?
No.
Not that I ever
No, it's kind of a unique,
A one-off, yeah.
yeah.
So I'm sorry, did you say that you had done some internal discussion about solutions?
Yeah, so, Kevin, the Public Works Foreman, and I talked about it today, and we talked about things like a bollard system. The biggest thing is anything that we put in there, obviously we need to keep some access for our maintenance equipment, whether that's toolcat or picking up garbages, plowing the sidewalks. And then the other thing to consider, a couple other things to consider are access into the park, because a lot of times the vendors, or whether they're putting a fence or chairs or canopies, they'll actually use that kind of that curb cut that you see in the packet. Well, it's not, you can't see. So there's basically a curb cut where pedestrians can access that point directly into the park, and that's used by a lot of different individuals to drop stuff off, set up for the various events. And then the other thing to consider that I really didn't think about until Kevin talked about it today is there's a lot of underground infrastructure right in that area. There's fiber, there's irrigation systems, there's a junction box for all of our electrical within Lakefront Park, right off of the trail there. So it's not, there would have to be some careful consideration for anything that we put into that area. So, like I said, we talked about, bollards that we put up down kind of by Walnut Street. We also talked about, concrete boulders like they have in front of Targets, something like that. We also talked about maybe tearing up some of the trail, pouring that concrete, and then kind of incorporating a seating wall. But then that kind of defeats the purpose because we're trying to not have people sit right there. So
You can't get in there.
and then you
out with
can't
it.
get in there and out, and then so there's some egress issues there. So that's kind of the internal discussions that we've had about
What does the
it.
city attorney say?
Haven't contacted him about it yet.
My concern goes to two things. One is, if we don't avail ourselves of somebody who's an expert to come in and tell us what to do there, does that hold us liable if something happens and nothing was done, right?
Yeah, I like
It's-
the idea of the risk assessment.
Yeah,
I think that would be,
I think that's a cover your ass move. I'm sorry to say that we spend the money to do it, but I think that's, in today's universe, that would protect the city and us. Personally, it's too bad that it happened,
Yeah.
but I don't know that we can protect every intersection like that.
And there's something to be said for that, because I know for other various pieces of infrastructure that we use, whether it's like guardrails on a hill or at an intersection, those are engineered and studied and placed in those locations based on those studies that occur. If you go up and start putting up random guardrails or jersey barriers here or here, and something does happen and someone gets injured, the first thing the attorney goes is like, why was that there?
That's what I,
So it kind of goes along your line. So, I mean, yeah, I think we can absolutely reach out to the attorney and, perform a risk assessment.
and come up with a simple solution.
Right, simple, inexpensive solution, yeah.
But I think we expose ourselves to trouble if we don't have the risk assessment.
So would you like a motion to move that? Do we need to vote on it? or-
Probably, Pam. I
I'll move
think you're
to move forward with the assessment or what was recommended.
Second?
It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Who
I guess-
seconded it? I'm sorry.
Mike?
I just had one comment to that too. Quite possibly, maybe could that risk assessment start with maybe you being head of parks, police chief or someone he designates, maybe fire? Because again, like you had mentioned, because I had some conversation with the person that was involved in that incident. It started with that bench was there and that's why they were sitting on that, and there was an event going on. But people can sit on that bench anytime. It's not just event related necessarily. And, and there's a lot of streets that come into that. So anyway, but back to the motion on the table. Maybe it starts there, and maybe run it past Nick, our attorney, and if maybe there a red flag comes up, we bring in the big guns who specialize in this. The reason I say that is my fear is if I sell safety bollards and equipment and I protect a, whatever it is, 40-acre park, I'm gonna have fences and lights and pop-up I'm gonna tell you what you guys need. And I wanna make sure
We're
we're
talking
being realistic that we
just that
can't.
location.
Okay, maybe it is just
Yeah,
that
I think it's-
location.
we limit it to that location.
Okay. And then kind of, I guess I just want to take baby steps as opposed to, again, you roll someone in here from the big city.
Yeah.
And they say, oh yeah, we can fix that for you, no problem.
Yeah.
And,
And I think that was the directive coming out of public safety is, I know, the chair, Randy Morissette, did kind of want us to look expansively through our park system, but then they said, well, let's just focus on this one first.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And then the second thing is, they did recommend forwarding this discussion onto that traffic safety committee, which
Oh, okay.
consists of myself, the police chief, the fire chief, and the city engineer.
Okay.
Be good,
So,
yeah.
that-
That'd be a
so
good
then
start.
we'll internally review that and
Yeah.
review some of the data, and it'll be helpful to have the city engineer there
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So, okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Good.
And then item C that we have under new business tonight is just to review and discuss the Meadowlark Lane Parkland development. So this is a parcel of property on the northeast corner of the Hanley Road roundabouts, where Hanley Road and Highway 35 intersect, directly due south of the new Boucher Apartments. Does everybody know where I'm talking about? You know, Anthony?
I'll look it up.
Okay, so, you know where the Excel Energy building is out off of Hanley? Mike will show you.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the city has acquired a parcel of property out there. It's 2.55 acres. It's directly off of Meadowlark Lane. And want to kind of kickstart some of the planning efforts for that park and its development. A couple of residents have reached out, saying, hey, what are you doing, so on and so forth. So just want to
So
start
this
the
is
wheels in
35,
motion.
and this is
Obviously, a couple different avenues that we can go. We can do something similar to what we did with Bella Rose, where staff did an internal questionnaire. We sent it out to the area residents, kind of got some feedback as far as what they'd like to see. And then we kind of planned the park based on what the responses were. We can do that.
So that's
Yeah.
the-
Or the other option would be, like we've done in
They
years
gave us-
past, is bring
this
in a
chunk of
professional consultant, a park planner, to help us kind of plan the park for future development. So they would do fancy schematic design, so on and so forth, but obviously there's a cost to that, that we have to pay for that type of service. So I know you've been around a long time, you've probably done it both ways. Do you prefer one way over the other, or what's your thoughts?
I think the best is to do it in-house.
Okay,
You know, like you suggested, that we question the neighbors in the neighborhood, the people around there, what they'd like to see. We have a good idea of what we'd like to see as well, and then put something together and go from there.
yeah. And we could even do a combo platter too. I mean, I have no problem developing the survey and sending it out and receiving them back. Maybe based on the responses we get, then maybe we can go to a park plan and say,
Yeah.
here's 2.5 acres, these are the responses we get. Put something down on a piece of paper, but then we're saving money on some of the public engagement side of it, so it'll be cheaper
Yeah.
for us to do. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Yeah,
Go ahead, I'm
Go-
sorry. Go ahead.
sorry about that. The concept of starting in-house, again, it sounds like that's the theme here. And it's not that crazy of a chunk of land. I mean, we do have that highway, freeway, we want to talk about, maybe there's a fence involved. But then when we do talk, when the neighbors say we want a swing set and we want slides and a shelter, it seems to me some of those companies must be approached, but saying, hey, we're gonna spend a couple $100,000 with you on swing sets and stuff. Can you have your designers kind of lay it out? You know, we have this road here, we have the entrance over there, you know, maybe they could, I mean, we're gonna be spending a lot of money, they could kind of baby step, I kept using that word. I'm thinking about baby parks. But maybe they could do some of this development,
Yeah.
and it kind of comes with the package type thing. So I like starting where in-house, and again, if this were Lakefront Park and we're talking about maybe redoing the whole riverfront, that's where it gets over our head, but this
Yeah.
might be something we could handle, you know.
We've got them all over already. You know, we know what works, and,
Yeah.
Well,
You say
yeah,
something?
and I think the first to get from the neighbors,
yeah.
kind of what they want that park to be. And then we can go from there.
Yeah.
And work on it.
Okay. Were you gonna say something, Pam?
Are there any any use, like, so there's is it a passive, or what are some of the terms that we use in the,
There's no use restrictions on it.
Okay.
So, I mean, it can be anything from a passive park or an active park, right? So active park are things like basketball courts, pickleball courts, playgrounds. Passive park is more like trails, a couple benches, maybe a shelter where people can kind of walk their dog through there. So those are kind of the you know, and like you said, a parcel this size is not over our head to design and develop, and there are a lot of services that, you know, playground outfitters do supply. I feel comfortable doing it that way. But yeah, I mean, just to get some initial feedback, because I don't really, you know, the demographics that live in that adjacent neighborhood, I don't know if there's a lot of families in there, if it's more retirees, so it would be good just to kind of get some of that initial feedback and then go from there.
Yeah.
When I think that there's the actual park and ride,
Yep.
there's some discussion of that becoming multifamily also. So this, and where that is removed, like, there's no other parks near it, so this would be a good to see, like you had mentioned, whoever's living there, this is gonna be their main park.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's gonna be more a neighborhood park, obviously, a small kind of
Right.
popcorn park. It's not gonna be a big regional attraction. People aren't gonna drive to this location. They're gonna
No.
walk from the nearby neighborhood, you
Right.
know,
You're
so,
gonna have to put in infrastructure,
right?
you know,
pickleball?
But like, you know,
then you got bathrooms.
if you're walking, yeah, if you're walking there, can you walk back home to go to the bathroom? You know, it's some of that type of stuff. More of your popcorn areas or neighborhood parks don't have those type of amenities because they are walkable to and from. More of your regional type locations like Grandview or White Camp, those attract lots and lots of people. That's where you want those amenities at, so. Okay, well, I think, I kind of have some marching orders. I'll put together a survey. Is that something that you want to review before I send out? Do you want that on next month's agenda, or?
I'm confident in your abilities to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been here long enough, we trust you.
Okay, thank you.
I picture this in my brain, sort of like the one that we just got done building at Vine and Carmichael.
Okay.
Is it about the same amount of space, sort of?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have been near there. I don't know if it's completely done yet or where, but there's a nice shelter, the equipment's up. I think it's roughly about the same space and probably the same usage.
Yeah.
Families, or else just a green space to go sit underneath the
Yep.
thing and read a book or something, so.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm envisioning. Because that turned out nice.
Okay.
Anything for old business? that Anybody wants to bring up anything for future agendas?
I do have just a project update. Just kind of want to let anybody who's watching this know that the Burton Park ice rinks are open. Deb, the hours for that?
Yes, 4 to 8, Monday through Friday, or Monday through Thursday, and then Fridays, no, yeah, 4 to 8, I'm sorry, and noon to 8 on the weekends.
There you go. So put on your stocking caps and gloves and brave the 10 below weather. Actually, it's going to be nice the next couple days, so
Right.
hopefully it gets used a lot. But restrooms will be available, and yeah, get some use out of it, because I know the last couple of years have been not so good flooding weather, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get it flooded and it get warm and,
Yeah, and then I think we were open for like 2 days last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing that I have for just communications for future agendas is just kind of continued discussion of the Prospect Park Playground. Obviously, we went up there and kind of walked around and kind of drummed up some ideas, so I'll be bringing forward some cost estimates, some rough schematics on designs, and kind of go from there. The goal is to try to get something, you know, updated this summer and fall, get something in there. So that'll be on an upcoming agenda. I'm shooting for February to have some of those discussions. So that's all I got.
Okay.
anybody have anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you tonight.
Go have a